Then we're going to step into the different market research tools that we talked about. And it's really a systematic way of collecting information about your project. Putting a little bit of planning in place, thinking about what is my hypothesis about where I'm going to end up, or where I'm here at A today, I want to move from a number 1 on this one to a number 2. What do I need to do to get that to move up the chain? And you can do market research to explore your C's, your market size with a funnel, which you remember, and the P's and the R, and to understand any of these areas. You can use market research. First, you want to know, why are you doing this market research? Is it exploratory? Am I just checking this out? I don't really know much about this space. I just want to know more about what's involved here. Is it descriptive? I want to better describe who is involved in the treatment of this product, better describe the patients, better describe the physicians, better describe the Ps, because I kind of know what I'm doing, but I need a good definition of what is involved. Or is it causal? If I do this, is it going to impact something else in the future? Is it going to change what's involved? So think about the different approaches to your market research. And then, let's see what's next here. Oh, good. And then different ways of approaching market research. It could be quantitative or it can be qualitative. So quantitative, you would have, would be very numbers driven. Usually more of like a survey. You have a large number of people. You can have them answer A, B, C, or D, answer the question. You can do some statistical analysis from the results that you get. And it can be used in a quantitative fashion to augment the information you have. Qualitative is really driven more about around individual and organizational behaviors, thoughts, emotions, perspective. And those can typically are done with smaller numbers. So, 10 people, 20 people, 1 person is even a good place to start, right? And get that qualitative. This is who, why, what do you feel about this? Why do you think that's the case? What if something else happened? And then primary and secondary, you guys are familiar with these terms. But we recommend that you start with secondary and even tertiary sources. Google is amazing. Just saying, amazing. You can type in like anything you want and see what pops up. There's some tips in here and some ways to find PDFs and slides and things that has information in it. And even just find out what are people talking about? What do they post on WebMD about this condition? Like what patient groups are concerned about it? And can you could contact the patient group and say, I'd like to do some more research on this topic. What are your rules? Do you provide opportunities for small companies or startups or researchers or academic labs? Put whatever layer on it that makes sense to learn from your folks. So there are ways to do that. And starting with a secondary research is important to help with that intelligence question I mentioned before. So you want to know a little bit of something before you talk to people for the first time, because you don't want to waste their time. So if it's something that you're like, oh, well, you could have read that on my practice website, with the kind of stuff that we do, and you're wasting my time by that's not relevant to me. So do a little bit of your background research before you do the primary research. Publications that you're reading. Who's publishing on this? Call their lab. I read your study. I was really interested and intrigued to learn more about what you do. I'm trying to learn more about these patients. What can you tell me about them? There's ways to access clinicians from a free perspective. There's also a way to pay clinicians to do the research. I do a lot of that work myself, but that's expensive. You have to pay for the time. You have to give them a fair market value, which could be, a lot of times several $100s per hour that they get paid for just sitting on the phone with you for an hour. So, take advantage of your resources here in Boston. So benefits of primary research: understanding your customer directly. What are they going to say about it? To help you define or refine your product. They might say, as we heard earlier, that indication, that sounds good, but have you thought about this? That might be a better way to approach this. You'll learn a lot from that. So get out of your lab or office, talk to people. You might feel like I put a bunch of 1s on my confidence sheet here, but that's exactly why you need to go talk to people. And you can use this class as an excuse. I went to learn more about the business side of this and the patients and talk about the P's. And so I got this question, and I really wanted to talk to someone. I heard you knew something about this. Can you help me improve my knowledge in this area? And people respond to that. They like, sharing their knowledge and helping you move things forward. So take advantage. And then follow a standard, sort of standard process for doing your market research. It's better to plan it out. So this is sort of word for word, which you'll get some of this in your notes. And what are your goals? What are you trying to answer? What's the source, the methodology, the objectives? What are you really trying to do here? What's your plan? How am I going to make it happen? Do I have a budget? Do I want to spend any money on this? Whose money is it? Is it my money? Does it come from the lab? Does my tech transfer office have any money? Where does that come from? What approach do I want to take? What instruments do I want to use? Is this a phone call? Do I go to the conference that's happening next week downtown that has a lot of people there that I think are going to be there, or that I want to talk to? How do I want to get in touch with them? Is this an email, phone call, LinkedIn? Think about your approach. Executing your plan, collecting all the information you can, adjusting as you go. You might find out when you're a third of the way into your plan, you're like, whoa, this headed me in the wrong direction. I need to regroup, start over, let me adjust my goals. I'm going to try again. Your analysis of findings. What kind of analysis do you want to do? Is it a statistical analysis? Do you have access to a statistician that can help you work through that if you may yourselves be able to do that? Or is it subjective? Half of the people I talk to really like this idea. It's got a number, but it's still sort of a subjective. They really like this idea. And then putting that information, integrating the learnings into your development process and the activities you do moving forward. What are your actionable conclusions? And thinking about this when we were talking about survey design, designing your survey so the answers that you get allow you to have actionable conclusions. And then what are the implications? What does that mean for me? I found out this indication is already overserved. Maybe I need to shift. I found out there's much bigger unmet need in this population than I ever expected. We need to move on this and raise the awareness in the organization that this really needs to happen. What kind of strategic approach do you take after you learn from this? Hear a veteran of the healthcare space and giving advice on what organizations should do when they bring ideas to the table. It's clear vision. Being as clear and focused as you can on what you're doing, that basically understand the clear unmet need. Be as clear as you can about what market you're trying to approach. Who are the patients, physicians, payers, providers? What's the regulatory climate? How does that all fit together so that you can be as clear as possible in describing your situation? And and then from there, take all those learnings to move forward.